Hello, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time where we can relax and craft together, and we typically work on a project from beginning to end here. So I hope you join in, grab your knitting needles or your hand stitching, and we will just hang out here for an hour here tonight. So we are working on the Splendid Sampler to quilt along, and I'm using the quilt as you go technique where I'm putting together four of my Splendid Sampler blocks, and quilting them as its own little mini quilt. And we are going to attach two quilted pieces together, and that's the quilt as you go technique. So instead of quilting an entire finished quilt when you're all done and having to drag it all over the place, we're doing it bit by bit, and then we're using this special way to connect them. And that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm super excited. I have not done it before. And it'll be like this, like how my mom's quilt. So this is my mom's. She's doing the block of four, and then they are attached by a little binding strip. So that is a little sashing strip, sort of. It's kind of almost like a binding strip on the back. So I will show you that technique. I'll be able to try it here for the first time. And let's start we have to trim down our blocks, and I will show you all the pieces that we need to get prepped after that. So thanks for being here, guys. I'm gonna flip you around and let's get started. Okay, so I have the my piece right here. So first thing we have to do is trim this down. So these blocks, when they're done in the way that I'm doing them here, should be 13 inches. So these are 6.5 inches each square, right? When we finished them up, when we cut them to size, they were 6.5 inches, and then we added a 1/2 inch binding or a 1/2 inch sashing strip in the middle. So we have the 6.5. It was a 1 inch binding strip when we did it, and another 6.5. So if we get rid of the two seam allowances from this and this edge, and the seam allowances from this and this edge, we should end up with 13 inches. So I've kind of did a little test measure here, and it looks like we are kind of just shy of 13 inches. And that is because when we quilted this, it kind of sucks the fabric in a little bit to accommodate for the poofiness of it all. So that's going to be something we're going to have to deal with in this process. I'm sure there's a trick for that. I'll have to do some research and look into that. But for now, I'm going to still just cut it to the 13 inches. We just might have a little bit of this batting sticking out from it. So I'm going to square this up. I'm going to start by, I don't know the best way to square this up. So if you guys got a way, let me know. Ideally I would have a ruler that's the 13 inches. I don't have that. I have this 12.5 inch ruler. What I'm going to do is measure, I'm going to eyeball what the center is and measure 6.5 inches over. And that should be, 6.5 inches is half of 13. So I'm going to make my first cut based on that. So I have a 1/2 inch on this ruler here. I'm going to put that there. And then the 6 inches is this pink line in the middle. I'm going to just use that as my guide to start out. I'm going to just kind of make sure that everything seems straightish. Once we get this first cut, the rest should be easier. So I think that looks good. So what I'm going to do, this may seem a little silly, but since this ruler isn't long enough, I'm going to put this ruler down. I'm going to butt it right up against that ruler. Get this guy out of the way. And then I'm going to put another ruler down next to it so I can cut it. But let me grab my rotary cutter first. Forgot that part. Okay. Butting it up against there. So this should now be in the same spot as where that square ruler was. Okay, and here we go. We are going to trim this first edge. So scary. Ugh, I'm always scared cutting stuff, especially once you've done all this work, right? Okay, so that's our first edge. So now from here, we should be able to square it much easier. I'm still going to measure from the center to the 6.5 inches, so the same thing. But now we have a perfectly straight edge at this bottom that we can line up our ruler with. So that should help us out to get this square. Actually, I'm going to put this edge on an edge of my ruler that will, edge of my cutting board that will help me a little bit too, I think. Okay, let's center that. I'm centering that 6.5 inch line. All right, does everything look kind of square? I think we're okay right there. All right, so I'm going to, again, put this ruler down. I'm butting it up against this. Remove that. Get the other ruler out. Butt it up against this ruler. We're dealing with the puffiness of the batting too when I do this. Okay. You know what? It looks crooked up here compared to down here. I'm going to do that one more time, you guys. I'm just nervous. I want this to be nice and square. Holly, no, I don't. I think it should be 13 inches unfinished. Because really, we have a 6 1/4 here, a 1/2 inch here, and a 6 1/4 here. That should be 13, I think. All right, I think this is a bit more square. Let's do that. So if you're not doing that sashing like we did, if you're doing it like my mom, then you should have 12.5 inches, I think. We're doing 13. All right, deed is done. Now I kind of should just be able to measure. I think now I'm just going to use my mat to count 13 inches. I think let's just keep it simple like that. So I have this edge and this edge lined up on the lines of my cutting mat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Doing it the easy way now after we get those first 2 cuts. All right. Ah, shoot, moved a little bit, but I think we're still okay. All right, and our last bit. So we got to do this for the other piece as well. All right, last cut on this slice. All right, we should have a good 13-inch piece here now, but you can kind of see, you know, my fabric doesn't reach all the way down to the edge in some places. Luckily, I think it's all within the 1/4 inch realm, so I think, ooh, this is getting close here, but I think it will all still be attached when I sew them together. So I'm not going to worry about it in these two, but I think maybe when we continue making these blocks, I think maybe I won't cut down cut these down to 6.5 inches until I've arranged them, and then maybe I'll only cut down the 2 sides, and then I might have a little bit extra on the edges just to make up for this. I'm kind of thinking that might be the way to go in the future. However, this is where we are now, so I'm gonna throw this one to the side. Let's get the other guy out. So this too, let's see how close we were 4 inches on this one. Ooh, yeah, we're still a little shy of the 13 inches. So yeah, just the quilting scrunches it up, and then we're not totally on. Just a hair on this side too. So, all right, let's do it the same way. Start by getting that 6.5 inch, kind of trying to center it the best we can here. I'm just basing it on this sashing piece, kind of trying to center that sashing piece. I know I need those new I need some new dots. Those what are they called? Those no slip dots on my bottom of my ruler. I think I can just wipe them off with some water, and that might do the trick. All right, looking good, I think. You're scared yours will be really short. There is a way that you could just add a little fabric. Like you could add a little bit of the background color if you cut yours a little short. I can kind of talk through that a little bit in a sec here. Once we get this cut out, I'll show you a little bit of how we can work with that. All right, I think we're looking okay. All right. So there's our first cut. Now I'm going to get that on the straight edge, this bottom straight edge here. Okay, now again, let's try and do that other centering. Again, I'm just kind of centering from my middle sashing piece. Ooh, gosh, we got quite a bit of edge poking out here. Maybe we'll have to do a little bit of that piecing. Okay, otherwise I think that looks okay. All right, I think we look okay. Might need to tilt a little bit. All right, right there, done. All right. Can't talk and cut at the same time. It's too scary. Oh, what kind of ruler? I think I have links to these rulers. These are the Fiskars rulers. I think I just got these ones from Joann's. My favorite ones, though, are these Omni Grid rulers. I like how tiny these dots are, and they also have a lot of extra little deals on. I would like to get an Omni Grid ruler in a few larger sizes one of these days. All right, I'm not sure I'm quite square here, but we're good enough. We're as good as we're gonna get. How about that? I think right here. All right, and then let's get that last side. All right, here we go. Okay, so there we are. Here's the 13 inches on this one. And then here you can see I got quite a bit of an edge there. So that one maybe we'll work on a little bit. Maybe I'll wait on that though, because I want to do the quilt as you go process. So I'm going to, I'll have this be the left block and then my other one be the right block because these edges look okay. But to fix something like this, let's see if I have a piece here to do that with. So you can take a piece of fabric that's can basically cross over this. It's kind of like the paper piecing, the foundation paper piecing. I can put like a white strip along the edge, like where it's too short. And I can just sew that down. And then when I flip it over, I'll have covered that space, and then I can just trim it down a little bit. See what I'm saying? So that's a way that you can fix a piece. You will have like a little sliver of white or a sliver of whatever your background color is or on it, but it is a way to do like a little minor fix that no one will probably see in the end. So we'll fix this piece, but we'll probably do that a different day. I want to make sure that we get the quilt as you go process done. Dawn, I cut this down to 13 inches only because I have this 1/2 inch sashing. So if you didn't do the sashing, if you're sewing just the 4 blocks together, then it should end up being 12.5 inches, right? Because you have 6.5 inches and 6.5 inches, and you lose a 1/4 inch on either side for the seam allowance. So you should end up with 12.5. This we added that extra little 1/2 in, so it's 13 inches for these particular blocks that we're doing here. So we're gonna lay these blocks out like this so I can avoid having to deal with that edge. Okay, so the other pieces we need for the quilt as you go process is we need a sashing down the middle here. So that's, I have these pieces that I have to sew together yet. So I'll sew those together and then we'll have our front piece. This should measure 13 inches once it's sewn together. So that's our front sashing piece. And then we need a back sashing piece, and we have to make that yet. So for the back sashing piece, that's a little different. So this sashing, you'll cut to 1 inch, and once it's sewn into the quilt, it will match our little sashings that we put in the middle here. So that measures 1 inch. For the back one, it will actually measure 1.5 inches, and I'll show you why in a sec here. But right now, let's get a 1.5 inch piece of this yellow fabric. Look how fun this is on the back. I freaking love the backs of these. I'm gonna like the quilted back better than the front, I think, when we're done. So I have a scrap fabric here. I need to cut a strip that is 13 inches by the 1.5 inch. So let's give this a little press. And then since I have all my cutting stuff out here, we'll cut it right away. Then we can shift everything to sewing land. Because I have my sewing table off here so I could have more room to cut tonight. All right, I think we'll cut along this edge. This used to be one of our fat quarters. We cut the back of one of our 4-patched guys. Our quilted pieces, we cut it out of a fat quarter, so this is what's left over of the fat quarter. So this is 18 inches this side, so that's more than enough for our 13 inches that we need. We are going to need this iron again real quick here. So I'm going to this edge is straight enough. Normally I would trim this just to have a perfect edge, but it's good enough. I don't think I need it any better than that. So what I'm going to do is, actually let's flip it around. I'm going to cut a 1.5 inch strip from this. I know, Nolene, that is one of the things, my mom was talking about this too. That is one of the projects I definitely want to do someday, is a whole cloth quilt. And actually the back of the quilt will appear like that a little bit. But a whole cloth quilt is when you just have like one color quilt and it's like a big sheet. And, you know, typically it could be like a large white sheet basically, and you just quilt it. And it's a subtle little thing where, oh, I only need Wait a sec. I think I need 2.5 inches, right? Because I'm folding it in half. Oh wait, let me think now. No, I need 1.5 inches. Hold on, okay. So 2.5. I need to end up with a 1/2 inch strip. Let me just cheat and use my mom's measurements. I think I just need a 1.5. Yeah, this is 1/2 inch, so that's 1. And then a quarter, 1.5. Whew, got confused quick with, normally for a binding, I do 2.5 inches, so my brain went right to cutting binding strips, but nope, I need a 1.5 inch strip here. Freaking myself out. Good thing Mom left her piece here. Wait, is it now 1.5? Ugh, let's just go with it. See what happens. I'm not sure I'm right on this, you guys. We're gonna just cut. Let's see if I can visualize it. Yeah, so we're gonna fold it in half. And then we'll lose another quarter. Yeah, okay, I think we're right. All right, a 1 inch for the front and then 1.25 for the back. So let's cross cut this to the 13 inches. And I think it's square enough here. I could trim that edge, but I think we're fine. Let's just sneak that under there. All right, 13 inches. We're crazy cutting here, but that's okay. We're just getting it cut however we can. So, all right, 13 inches. There we go. There's our strip that we need. So now we're going to press these in half that whole way, kind of like we are making a binding strip, but it's just like a real little one. So let's fold. And if you have a patterned fabric, you're going to want the front of the fabric, the right side of the fabric exposed. So you're folding it with the wrong side together right now. But since mine is just a solid, it's the same on both sides. All right. And I'll be making a bunch of these. So right now I'm only doing the one. Typically I would figure out how many I actually need and make them all, cut them all at once. But I just wanted to give it a try tonight and test out this one. All right, so I don't need any of my rulers anymore. Okay, let me walk you through what we're gonna do next, and then I'll get the sewing machine out and we will do this thing. So here's what we're gonna do. This is the left one and this is the right one. So we need to sew together that front sashing strip. Remember, it's these 3 pieces together. Typically you just have one long 13-inch strip, but since we are mimicking our normal sashing strips, I'm gonna put that little square in the middle. We're gonna sew this to the front and then this to the back at the same time, all the raw edges together. So that's up next. Let's get the sewing machine out, and I think this will all make sense real soon here. Gretchen, I did not decide on how many rows. I really haven't decided on anything. I'm gonna, like what this is gonna end up looking like. I'm gonna get these 2 done, and then I think this weekend I'm gonna have to do some math, figure out how I want this actually to look. Because I could make it I don't even know what size I want this. I could make it bigger or smaller, the whole quilt. So once I figure that out, then I'll know how many squares I'll need to make and all that. So all right, let's start out we need to get this front sashing strip done. Can't do anything until this guy's sewn together. So let's do that. I put the quilting, just the normal 1/4 inch foot in here again, since we had the quilting foot in yesterday. Back to the normal foot. Oh, I don't have my little my hedgehog guy here right now, my 1/4 inch, but I think I know the 1/4 inch enough that I don't have to deal with it right now. But I'll get that in before tomorrow. Tomorrow is New Black Thursday, so I'll need to get that good perfect 1/4 inch in. But I think I'll be able to do it enough for this. Okay, so that's the first side. Let's get that second one in. We're making that little tiny square in the middle. It's gonna be cute. Ugh, caught by a thread. All right, there we are. Get rid of that guy, he's annoying. Now let's give this a press, and we should be ready to start assembling this whole thing. And we're gonna get the wonder clips out, I think. Oh, I just love how itty bitty bitty these are gonna be. I think the quilt's gonna be really fun. You're gonna have these little sparkles of tiny, tiny squares in there, and that makes me happy. All right, I don't think it matters much at this point what direction I press these in, but I think they kind of want to be, well, I think inward. I think inward is how we pressed these. Actually, no, those were inward, yeah, outward. Doesn't matter much because we're not really nesting seams, but you know, it's nice to be consistent. Okay, there is our 1 inch strip. So let's check out our pieces again here. We have our 13 inch squares here. And we have a 13 inch sashing strip. Did I measure the top to bottom so sashing matches across? Well, this should be 13 inches, and these are 6.5 inch strips, and then a 1/2 inch in the middle, so we should be pretty close. So what I'm going to do is, all right, let me see. Yeah, this is the left side, this is the right side. So I'm going to move this away for now. And what we're going to do is, with right sides together, we are going to lay this here. I'm going to try and match up these seams with these seams of the sashing, so I will focus on that. So we're going to clip those together, but we're also going to put the raw edge of our folded piece as part of this too. So we're going to have all of this together. See, so the raw edge, right sides together this whole way. So let's get the wonder clips out. Just to help guide me, I'm gonna just clip all these at the top. I'll probably adjust those, but I just want them to all, we're dealing with a lot of pieces, so I just want my edges to hang out together here. There we go. So now I'll go about doing this. Okay, first of all, let's not worry about this guy right now. I want to make sure that my seams are together on here. So remember our seams of our sashing? I'm going to try and match our seams of this little square feller to it. And you know, I'll clip those, but then I need to get this guy up in here too. But I'm going to just worry about the front for now, making sure that this is okay. All right, let's clip down here. All right, I think that's clipped up there enough. Now let's make sure that we're getting this guy on. Clip. So again, raw edges. So the raw edges of this we're doing with the raw edge of this, the front pieces. Ooh, let's go this way. Always afraid I'm going to fling these across the room. But okay, and then we can adjust this so it's holding all the layers now too. All right, now we just need to sew along that edge. So we're going to sew that 1/4 inch all the way down here. Get those wonder clips out of the way. Ooh, this top one's upside down, but that's okay. We're going to be moving him out of the way right now anyway. I'm going to actually lift this up, my presser foot up, and set my piece underneath it because it is a ton of layers here. It might be too much for my foot to jump up all by its own. So we are just going to help it a little bit to start. All right, sewing that 1/4 inch through all these bajillion layers. Move that out of the way. Make sure you get all the layers in. It's bunching a little bit up here. All this is quilted down, and this piece here isn't, so we might need to, this might not match up all the way. This is one of those things that we're gonna just have to get better at as we go throughout this quilt, I think. This is my first time, my first little quilt as you go sashing deal here. So I'm interested to see how this ends up. Hanging over the edge a little bit, but that's okay. Oh, a walking foot maybe would help. Oh yeah, I could raise the presser foot a little bit too. Those are good suggestions. I'll do that next time around. Yeah, walking foot might have been good here. You're right. Yeah, actually it would have been really good to use a walking foot here. Oh well. We'll do that next time. Smart, smart. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, because I'm a little shy right here, but we'll deal. We'll get better at this as we go. So right now we have that little strip on the back. We have our strip on the front, and those 3 pieces are together. So next up, what we're gonna do is grab our second piece, and we're gonna fold just this piece forward, just the top piece. The bottom piece we're gonna let hang that way. And now we're going to, with right sides together, pin these edges together. So it's the edge, I'm gonna flip it over so I can see a little bit better. It's this folded flap here. And again, let's start out by putting those seams together. I think I'm going to use a whole lot more wonder clips this time around. So we're not doing anything with this flap. We don't want that to be sewn, so we're just going to let that be. In theory, I should probably be, well, no, this is fine. Maybe next time sew the yellow strip on with an H and seam around, and then re-sew the top. Oh, we could do that. I'm not sure that's really the issue. I think more pins. This is all quilted, so this isn't stretching at all. All of this, it's all tacked down. Whereas this, all this free fabric that doesn't have anything quilted or anything does stretch and move around a little bit more. I think that's the bigger issue. So I think I'm going to take that pins work thing and just clip the heck out of this. See if that helps out. Always improving. I'm always trying to improve, right? We were a little off the first time, so let's see if we can solve that issue for next time. So, all right, let's sew the 1/4 inch on this edge now. Okay. So the 1/4 inch seam allowance, again, I am going to help myself up a little bit. There we go. I'm so excited about this, you guys. I have never done this process before, and I always kind of wondered, how can they quilt it in progress? Like, how can they quilt it without doing the whole quilt at once? Like, doesn't that, like, how do you take care of all these raw edges, right? So that's always been like the mystery around quilt as you go. So I'm happy to finally be giving it a try here. Okay, more clips worked a ton better. So having all these extra clips really, really helps. So I'll make sure to do that next time as well. All right, at this point, we should have our pieces together, and there's just one more step to this after we press. So let's check that out. Can't wait to see what this looks like. Oh, is there news about how the Splendid Samplers 2 is working now? I haven't checked any of that lately. All right, so here's the front. Look, so this is basically our sashing piece here, right? So there's no quilting on it, so that's going to be the only difference from our other sashing pieces. And we could really avoid quilting on these, but I thought that'd be not fun. I like being able to cross over wherever. But yeah, so here's the front piece. Super cute. And we're going to press that. But then on the back, we have this little flap, right? So this just gets folded over. And we'll press this too. We'll press it folded over. And this we just can hand stitch down. And we'll get this like sashing line without quilting here too, but I think that'll be kind of neat. So how are we doing on time, you guys? Oh, we got tons of time. So let's press this, and I will start stitching this down. You could also machine stitch this down, but it will put a line of stitching on your front. But you know, if you're already quilting and all that anyway, it will just put a line of stitching down this edge here. So go for machine stitching too. I mean, that's, you know, kind of a non-issue, but I'm gonna do the hand stitching just because I like binding, and this is kind of like, it's like midterm binding. So all right, I think I'm gonna just lay this out on the back here, and we'll press this over. Let's start there. Okay. Oh man, we need more room here now. Let's see how we do. Scooch that out of the way. Gonna give this a little pull and press. I think this will hopefully do the job for us. Press that seam. Probably don't really need to press this, but it'll help just get us started, I think. There, and we'll just give a press to the front too while we're at it. For good measure. All right, I think that'll do. So there is our first 2 bits are connected. It's totally a quilt. It is like it's the 16th of a quilt right here, right? So awesome. So let's flip this over and let's start hand stitching this guy down. Maybe we can even get that done tonight. Let's see. We need Zeb. Let's get him out. I'm gonna use that straw needle. I just really like that, even though mine's totally bent. But it's just nice and thin and works great for this quilting fabric. So let's get that. And I will take, oh, you know what? This is a perfect place for using this. I have a bobbin with my thread that has hardly any left on it. So this is gonna be perfect for this. So I'm gonna just get a big old strand out of here. Not too much, because it gets difficult to stitch with if it's too long. So let's thread this. All right. Get a little bit more. I want to be able to go the whole edge with one thread, I'm hoping. But yeah, this is a great place to use up old bobbins and stuff. Okay, let's get situated here. I'm going to get you guys down here. Okay, so I am going to let's just tie a knot here. Start out with a knot, seems like a good place to start. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go, ooh, this is gonna be a little funny because it's different than a binding. Ooh, I'm gonna have to figure out how to hold this. It's different than a binding because with a binding I don't have this piece up here. I can just go like this and start stitching, but in this case I do have a big extra flap. Maybe it'll be easier from this side. Yeah, I'm gonna do it from this side. So let's fold this over. Grab a little bit. I'm gonna go around that place one more time. In theory, this part will be in the seam allowance when we sew the next part on. Ooh, I made a crazy knot there, but it'll be perfectly fine. Actually, I made a weird loopy knot. I'm just gonna cut that off. Loop it around here one more time. I would not trim any of this flap. It's going to be just the right size to cover our stitches. So we do have a little bit of a guide where we sewed the front sashing to this back to the quilt is a big sewing line. So if we can just barely cover that up, then we'll be good. So I'm going to stitch, I'm going to get you guys a little bit closer here. Okay, so I'm going to just lay this flat on a flat surface. Let's see how this goes. And I'm going to go just in the quilt, parallel to the sashing, and then I'm going to come up. I'm going to come up through the sashing just like a stitch or so, or just like a thread. And we'll pull our thread through. And now I'm going to go directly across from that stitch I just made. I'm not sure you guys can see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. There we go. All right. So you can see I'm just a little bit up on this batting strip. I came up through there, or binding strip. I'm calling it a binding strip. It's kind of a sashing. So I'm going directly across from that bit, in just so I'm only in the quilt now. And again, I'm going to come up through getting a couple little threads from that binding. And when I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not going through the entire quilted piece. I'm just going through like to the center because I don't want these stitches to show up on the front, right? So I'm just trying to get in that batting area and up. Gotta shorten my thread a little bit here. Yeah, so I think this is working good enough. I'm just kind of folding it over and holding it. You would pin that down. The problem with holding it in my hands, I mean, I could give that a try again, but the weird thing is that it's it's not like a binding of a quilt because I have a whole nother quilt next to it. So it didn't, I wasn't able to, it didn't feel right in my hand. It felt just different and weird. So actually laying it down on a flat surface like this is kind of neat. And you know what? I just got a flash of Grey's Anatomy again. I have been watching Grey's Anatomy on Netflix from the beginning, from the like season 1 all the way through. I think I'm on like season 5 now. But I just stitching this, I'm like, ooh, I'm stitching sutures or something again, like on Grey's. So I just got a flash of Grey's Anatomy while I'm making sutures here. Surgery on this little binding. This is how you did yours, and we'll do a quilt that I have a black spotted. Oh, nice, Joe. I think that's awesome. I mean, I'm already totally digging this way of doing it because how fun was it to make these quilted blocks? They're like, oh yeah, exactly, Vicky. It's like needle turn applique, absolutely exactly like that. You're totally right, except for we've pre-turned our edge, which makes it way easy. But yeah, I love this technique already just because it was so fun to treat these smaller quilted pieces as little, exercises. I got to play around. I would have never, ever been able to do some of these motifs, like all these fun little swirls and stuff on a larger quilt where I'm hauling the bulk of the quilt around everywhere. Like, it was fun to not have to deal with that at all and just got to play with the small pieces. You know what? This is a little difficult to get the needle up through here. Flat on the table. There's definitely, should I try holding it? I don't want to stab myself with a pin, but let's try it with a pin. We'll just pin this first kind of part, get that over. Ugh, that's even hard to do on a flat surface. Okay, fine, there. Let me try holding it up. Getting my hand underneath there. I still want to be able to stretch it all the way over. Ooh, I can already tell that's not gonna feel good on my hand. Yeah, no need to you don't get bored or frustrated, yeah, because you're totally, there's more stuff to work on. Yeah, you know what? Maybe now I could kind of hold it like a binding, but I usually stitch the binding starting from the other direction, so this feels really weird to me. I know a lot of people do bindings they fold it over this way, but I'm not really used to that. You know what? I'm sticking with it flat for now, but I think next time I do it, I'm gonna have to do it a little bit differently. We're figuring it out. All right, out of here, pin. So my stitches are maybe a little bit big here, but it's just because I'm trying to work through this a little bit on this flat surface. Oh, I think my poor John boy's getting a cold. Yeah, I'm awkward right now. This is gonna have to get fixed. You know what? I might actually try stitching this a little left-handed here. You figure stabbing is the experience of it all? Yeah, this is awkward. We're gonna stick to how I was doing it. Sorry guys, I'm all over the place. Figuring out, first time doing this. Oh, you're a lefty, so it works for you doing it at Linda Nice. Oh, Gretchen, you have a cold. Yeah, it's a super bummer. It's the changing of the seasons and everything. All right. I'm adjusting again here, guys. Oh, that's a good idea. Vitamin C plus honey and lemon. I think we have all those things right now, too. I'll have to make some tea when I'm done here tonight. Oh, wow. That's definitely a
not fun position for my hand though, what I'm doing now. When I make pinching motions with my hand, it's weird. Charlotte, I think, yes, definitely it would be easier from the other end. I was thinking that I was going to do this a little bit differently, but now, after doing a few stitches, I think the other end would be good. And you know what? I think I am going to do that. I'm going to just go around this spot a couple times and tie a knot, and I am going to clip this and start it from the other end. I am going to treat it more like a binding, like fold over the edge and do it that way. But when I do a binding, I do it in the other direction. So yeah, we're gonna change. So I'm just gonna tuck this in. All right. Let's try this again, other direction. See if that's any better. Just felt really weird when I started it last time. Just tying a little knot again. Yeah, now let's try. We'll do that. We'll try the little pin again in here. Oh man, I really think I'm gonna stab myself with this pin if I do it that way though. Let's maybe just go back in. Put the point. I put the point back in there. All right, so we still have to get it started. Just gonna go around here. So this is like quite a big jog that we're gonna have to deal with later, but for right now, we're just letting it be. Oh, I can kind of stretch it down there. That's good. All right. Now I'm just pretending that I'm doing it like how I normally do a binding. I just have to kind of grab this like that. There we go. Now I really have to make sure that I'm only going through the front part. Not going all, or not through the back part, not going all the way through all 3 layers to the front. Okay, this is feeling better. I just have to fold this to get it out of my way, and now it feels like I'm just doing a normal binding, which is comfortable and makes me happy. So I think we're good. As long as I don't get the needle too far through, we will be just fine. But I'm going to keep going on this. It's going faster now, so I think I'm going to just go till we finish this segment here, this binding strip. So if you want to, how are we doing in time here tonight? We're pushing. We're getting there to the hour mark here. I try and keep these to around an hour. I think I will just stay till I'm done with this. I don't think I need to hold the fold. I'm okay with the fold now. Yeah, a big wonder clip, that could work. So I clip this fold in bulk too, but I think I got it now. It's much more comfortable, Leslie. Yeah, this feels right. It was just getting over that trick of like folding this, and now it feels like I'm doing a normal binding again. I'm glad I switched over. I'm gonna remove that pin. It might be actually a good idea, since I did start here already, it might be good to keep that pin just to make sure I don't end up pushing things around, getting it super bulky or off at the end here. So let's get that guy back in here, and we'll stitch up to him again. So I'm just going to gather it up like that. Oh, we got a ways to go till we're over there. So much more comfortable though. This is what I'm used to now, this sort of binding. Ooh, I was just thinking, you could get a bunch of these pieces to this part of it, and then do a bunch of these little bindings all at once. Like we can still have these sewn together because it's being held together with the front sashing, right? So I could have just let this hang out for a while till I had another set done, and then do a couple bindings at once and watch a movie or something. So that that's a thing to do too. But you know, once you get this far, you just want to get it done for real, right? So that's what we're doing now. Going through the binding part of it. Keep calling this a binding, but it's the back sashing. But yeah, so a lot of people hate this part of a binding, like, you know, just this handwork that's similar to a binding. So if that's you, then feel free to machine stitch this down. There's nothing wrong with just machine stitching the edge down. It's going to be practically invisible. So no need to do all this hand stitching. I think this is kind of the typical way people do this for Quilt As You Go, and I wanted to give it a try. And I love hand stitching like this, so it's a win-win for me. All right, we got like 6 more inches or so to go, I think. Yes, agreed, Noeline. It's so relaxing, especially for me. Binding a quilt is especially relaxing because you know it's the last step, and you get to savor that last step and all the hard work, and you get to see everything again, and it's just kind of neat. And this has kind of got the same feeling because we're finishing up 2 little quilted pieces. All right, I'm going to remove this guy now. Got to the pin. All right, we got this much more to go. That's not a problem. Yeah, this whole bunching, gathering it up. But the trick is I don't want to go through all of these pieces. Then we have a problem. Just this top layer of fabric, if I can. If I get a little bit of the batting, that's fine. As long as I'm not going any further than that. Oh, Robin says that she's seen people sew it down and then sew it on the other side. So a lot of times, I kind of flip this around. The way that this is done a lot of times is the back sashing, what we're doing now, is the 1-inch piece. And then people do this kind of binding strip 1.5-inch piece on the front. And then sew it down. I guess I don't really know what difference that makes. I just decided to do it this way because I wanted that fun pieced sashing on the front with, you know, with my tiny little square in the middle of it. So that seemed like I'd get it more accurate if it was the front piece versus this folded piece. So I'm doing it this way with the folded sashing, this binding strip kind of piece in the back. Oh, I'm loving this yellow Joe. I realized, I thought I had a whole bolt of it somewhere, but I didn't. I only had those 3 fat quarters and then a bunch of scraps. So my parents were going to come into town, and I'm like, Mom, I need whatever you have of this this buttery yellow. And luckily she had some on the bolt yet, but she had a lot less than we both thought too. So man, I don't know. We're going to make it through this quilt, but this is a nice color for like baby quilts and stuff. It's just a really pretty yellow without being too bold. So it's just a sweet yellow. So I might have to, maybe after this quilt, if I use it all up, all of Mom's fabric of this, then maybe I'll have to see if I can find another bolt of it. Snag it. Because it is pretty. Although I don't want to buy fabric for a long time, I'm in a use what I have mode, so it'd be a bummer to buy fabric. But this is just I think we use it a lot for baby quilts. Yeah, the back of baby quilts, this pretty yellow. Yeah, it's just a soft yellow, and you know, good for, you know, any gender sort of thing too. If you want a gender neutral baby quilt, so yeah, we use a lot of it apparently. I've gone through a whole bolt, and my mom is almost through a bolt, so. This is the fabric that matches the Safari Suite collection. When we first did that collection, they did a bunch of solids to go with it, so this matches that collection. Almost there, 2 more inches. I wasn't sure we'd finish all this part of it tonight. So I'm pretty happy about this for sure. When I'm done stitching it here, I will make the camera higher so we can look at the whole thing so far. Typically, there's 10 to 15 yards, usually closer to 15 yards on a bolt. Like if you go to a store, your typical quilt store, it's usually about 15 yards. All right, a couple more stitches here. Oh, thanks, Noeline. Yeah, I'm super stoked. Like I said, this was always kind of like a magical mystery. Like, how do they get two edges that look like this to be perfectly nice and finished? So this particular quilt, the Splendid Sampler 2, is great for this technique because it's just a bunch of same size blocks all together. If you did a quilt as you go with different size blocks, that might be pretty difficult. But any quilt where it has like a little sashing piece in, this way seems like a pretty good way to go. Yeah, I think I'm getting sold on quilt as you go too. Just because we got to play around with that with the quilting. I'm really happy about that aspect. That was really fun. I'm just kind of coming up here. Let's trim that. Get my needle into Zeb again. All right, let's take a look. Let me zoom out for you guys again. There we go. All right, let's get high up here. So here is the front again. So there we are. That is this was our front sashing piece. And again, that was that 1 inch thick. It's exactly the same as the sashing that we put in the middle of our blocks here. So there's the front. We do have to deal, I didn't, I'm maybe a little bit off, but we'll deal with that later. And then the back. So that's what the back looks like. With the little piece. And I'm looking, this almost looks like a different color. I wonder if it's just because we pressed it, it had heat on it. It's really odd though. This sashing looks like it's a slightly different color. Maybe because it just came from a different bolt? I don't know, weird. But anyway, it'll be fine. But yeah, it just totally blends in. I mean, it's not quilted like the rest of it, but in the end, you're not gonna really notice that. And it'll actually kind of frame these squares on the back a little bit. So woohoo! We have a portion. This portion of our Splendid Sampler 2 quilt is completely done. And that feels amazing to say. I don't have to quilt this part anymore. I don't have to baste it or, sew it together at all. It's done. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna flip you around and we'll take a look at this. Hello, so let me show you guys what this looks like here. All right, so we have a portion of a quilt done. I love it. So it is. So here you can really see the sashing. Like here's that one that connects it, but it looks just like these other two square sashings. So that's neat. We get a sense of what those little itty bitty squares are going to look like, and I think that's going to be just super cute. And again, here is the back. You just see all the yellow. There you can see some of the quilting. But yeah, just that strip in the middle does the job. So yay! Awesome! I am over the moon with this technique so far. I think it's going to be fun to do this for the rest of the quilt. This is my first quilt as you go quilt here. So how many are you going to put in a row? I don't know yet, Diane. So this weekend, I think I'm going to actually do the math on this. Right now, I was just sewing together blocks of 4 with some sashing. Now I got to actually figure out what I want my quilt to look like. So I'll decide how wide and big. I may need to add a couple blocks here and there because I think there's 100 blocks in the Splendid Sampler 2 project, and I'm not sure that's gonna pan out exactly with this. I might need to have some other random blocks in here too. So that'll be kind of fun to play with as we go. So hopefully this weekend, if I can find some time to sit down and draw this out, I'll have sort of a game plan of what we actually need to create here. But I figured doing this much wouldn't affect that at all. So I'm stoked. This is great. Happy to have a little bit of this completely done. That's amazing to say. All right, guys. I'll get this up onto YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies. You can watch the replay there. If you hit subscribe on YouTube, then you should get an email when it's available. And then I will. It'll stay on Facebook as well. So great. I will get that done for you guys, and I will be back here tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on the Penguin and Fish page on Facebook. And it is New Block Thursday. We are going to get a new Splendid Sampler 2 block, surprise block to sew tomorrow. So see you then. Have a great evening, guys. Good night.